All right, we are live and ready to go. And thank you so much for joining me for the first webinar of the Off to Class ESL Career Week. Oops. Am I the only person that's hearing that? Can y'all hear that as well? Is there echo? Okay. Well, obviously there's some, I think I have a window open somewhere else, which I do, so that it's echoing in my head. So I'm getting to hear myself twice. I've now closed that window and we're back to regularly scheduled programming. My name is Nathan. I'm the head of marketing here at Off to Class. We are an ESL toolkit that helps save teachers time and improve learner outcomes. And we're really excited to be able to host a number of awesome U.S. districts, and as of today, like 1,400 teachers who have registered for this event as we try to bring some of the teachers that we work with around the world to awesome districts and see how they might be able to bridge some of the teaching shortages that we've been reading about, and helping to make sure that every English language learner gets the support and instruction that they need. I'm going to take a back seat because we have such a really talented panel today. We've got Dr. Lora Perry from Tarrant City Schools in Alabama, Dr. Lora Grisso from Tulsa Public Schools. We've got in Oklahoma, we have two people from Virginia Beach City Public Schools, Kathleen Cahoon-Newchuk and Ann Glenn. I apologize, and I would try to say it, but
Zeljeznjak.
Zeljeznjak, what a name! It's fantastic. And so we are really, really lucky to have them here. And so for the people that are watching this live, this is your chance to get to ask questions. So you can leave comments and we will put those to the panelists later in the session. And then there'll be people that'll be watching this later, and we'd love to connect you with any of these districts if the stories and the sort of their opportunity resonates with you. So first and foremost, I'm just going to turn it over to each of the panelists. We'll start with Dr. Lora Perry. Can you tell me a little bit about your district? What makes it special? What are the kind of learners that you're serving there for people who don't know that much about Tarrant City schools?
Okay, good morning, Nathan, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share about our district. Again, my name is Lora J. Perry. I'm the Director of Federal Programs and also the EL Coordinator for our district, Tarrant City Schools. Tarrant City Schools, we are a small, community-based, family-oriented district. We were established back in 1930. We have 3 schools, one elementary school serving pre-K through 2, one intermediate school serving grades 3 through 6, and one high school serving grades 7 through 12. And we're all a Title I district, so we're a Title I school-wide. And we serve a population of about 1,300 students, consisting of African Americans, Hispanics, whites, and a multiracial district. We're located just right outside of the Birmingham metropolitan area, which have many attractions such as shopping, fishing, any good restaurants that you like. We also have great museums and the best fishing and golf that you can really rely on.
It's a lovely part of the country. I'm originally from Mississippi. Used to drive through Birmingham going to school in Virginia, which is where I went to school. And so I'm going to use that as a natural segue to let the team for Virginia Beach City Public Schools tell us a little bit about there. And like I've said, at any point, people are willing to jump in and make any comments as we go.
So we are Virginia Beach City Public Schools, 86 schools and centers. So amazing place. Like Dr. Lora Perry, we have some great things too. Water and the beach, of course, which is always lovely and fun. And we're just about 3 hours from Washington, D.C., and then 2 hours from Richmond, and then historic Williamsburg is about an hour. So really centralized location. With our 86 schools and centers, we have 55 elementary schools, and then the middle schools and high schools, 13 and 15. So a really nice transition and segue a little bit about the scheduling, and I'll let Kathleen jump in a minute. The bigger thing that we love about our division is that there is room to grow. There's room to grow professionally, and we try to support the teachers with the teacher orientation process that we have for brand new teachers that get support. But we also have those allowances for those advanced degrees, master's degrees, and then, of course, the free professional development that we have throughout the year. And Kathleen can kind of segue a little bit about just a little quickly about the schedules and how it works with our ESL teachers.
Thanks, Anne. So we have a little over 2,000 English learners in Virginia Beach City Public Schools, and we have over 80 different languages. By far, Spanish is the most frequently spoken, but we also have students who come from over 90 different countries. So it's quite a variety. As far as scheduling goes, we do have ESL teachers at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. So at the elementary level, we have teachers who are mainly itinerant, so they work at 2 or 3 different schools. They do a variety of pushing in to work with students in the classroom, the content teacher's classroom, and also they might pull out small groups for more specialized instruction. At the middle school level, we have a designated ESL elective class, and the teachers also push in and work with the content teachers and the English learners in those classrooms. And at the high school level, we have ESL courses. So we have several different courses that our high school ESL teachers teach.
That's fantastic. And I know before the session, I'd looked up and it mentioned that you serve 1,700 learners at like, I think it was the 70 languages.
It's grown.
72, like, and it's grown tremendously since that point, which I think speaks to a lot of the districts that we're talking to right now with the uptick in the last couple of years of ELLs and learners. And Dr. Lora in Tulsa, would love to hear about how things look in that district and what it looks like to be a teacher in Tulsa.
Thanks, Nathan. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Lora Grisso with Tulsa Public Schools in Oklahoma, up in the northeastern corner of Oklahoma. Our district, we serve over 9,400 multilingual learners. It's about 37% of our district, so we're a larger growing urban district. We have 70, that's the funny thing about language growing. I always say we have 74 languages. It's actually 76 now, because we received 300 refugees from Afghanistan this year. And we did not previously have any Pashto or Dari, and now we do. So our language list is always growing. But it's been amazing to welcome those students as well as all of our students into the learning experience. We have about 45 elementary schools and then about 15 middle schools and 9 high schools. We have English language development services, both designated and integrated. We also have dual language classes at 10 of our elementary schools, and we're the first school in Oklahoma to offer dual language in the middle school, so we're very proud of that. As I said, number of growing languages, largest is Spanish. After that, it's followed by Hmong and then Chuukese. That's always the trivia question.
What are those other two? What are those other 2 languages? Like where do those originate? Because I don't know off the top of my head. I'll just put my hand up.
Oh no, absolutely. So Hmong is a bit more common. Hmong is from the hill country between Laos and Vietnam, and they've come over time as refugees after the Vietnam War and have really grown very strong, diverse, vibrant communities here. But then Chuukese is a growing population we have here in Tulsa from Micronesia. And that is, it's just really exciting to see them come and grow. And one of my favorite partners that I get to collaborate with is in Hawaii. They also have Chuukese. And I'm like, hey, can I come visit you?
I mean, if that's the sort of like exchange learning that you'd be offering teachers,
right?
You might be able to like attract a few more teachers to come to Tulsa, but there.
Definitely. So that's just a quick overview of us, just a lot of large, diverse, growing population. Oh, I know I was going to mention one of the exciting things we have coming up is the launch of our new strategic plan for the district, our new 5-year strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, strategy 2 is to ensure that all educators are educators of multilingual learners. And so really doing a strong support professional learning for all of our teachers to build in literacy and language development through all subjects. And it's really exciting to see our educators come together to improve and do better on that.
That's really cool. And it resonates with something that we've heard from some other districts, including one that we're going to hear from on Wednesday, Springfield, Ohio, where they're saying, their vision is that we don't have this distinction. Obviously, we do need to have teachers that are specially trained and have this, but that every educator needs to have some of this. And I'm curious, before we go to other questions for the other panelists, is that something that you're also trying to do at your schools? How are you trying to incorporate that multilingual approach where it's not just something that's siloed, but that's actually sort of embraced more broadly? Anyone can react to that if that works.
So what we're trying to do in Tarrant City Schools, we're trying to partner with our local university and also have classes for them to go, for our general ed teachers to go back and get the ESL certification. And we're also looking for teachers with ESL certification in our gen ed department.
That's great. And Virginia, any
So
how do you,
we still have it separate, but I mean, Kathleen can speak to this. They do have some cohorts, so I'll let her jump in there.
Thanks, Ann. So we do. We actually have a cohort right now where we have 30 teachers from within Virginia Beach City Public Schools working on their ESL endorsement. In Virginia, you can take a test called the Praxis to earn your ESL endorsement. We also have a wealth of professional learning opportunities that we offer after school for content and classroom teachers, and they're led either by us here in central office or by one of our very talented ESL teachers. So we offer sessions throughout the year to build the capacity of all of our teachers.
That's tremendous, and that sort of moves us, I think, naturally a little bit ahead of schedule, but in a good way, because it gives us more time to answer these really important questions of just kind of what exactly are you looking for. This is a career week. You know, I would love for you to maybe for each of you to sort of talk about kind of what's the experience been like. We hear these headlines about how difficult it is to recruit teachers. You know, some of the challenges. How do you get people in? What's it like? You know, been for you on that side, and then what are you looking for? What makes a great ESL teacher, and kind of dispelling some of those myths and getting down to kind of what you're actually looking for, what makes a good fit for your district. And I'll maybe Dr. Lora in Tulsa, you were the last. Come back to you, or go to start to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So in our district, one of our core values, we have 5 core values, but 2 of the ones we talk about the most are equity and joy. You know, really focusing on the equity in the work and then bringing in the joy with it. So in our district, we do provide a ton of professional learning. We have positions called English Language Development Partners, which are here on my team. And they go out and they coach ELD teachers, English Language Development teachers, provide that support, that one-on-one guidance in building lesson plans and implementing in the classroom, or if you're co-teaching or in your own classroom. And then we have seen, along with, I'm sure, the rest of the country with the shortage of teachers, that we are now helping people from various backgrounds become educators. And it's been a great experience. I can think off the top of my head of many, including my own husband, who used to be an HR professional and decided he wanted to be a teacher. So he came, and he's an English language development teacher. He's moved on into other positions in the district, but we have a lot of people who want that. And when they meet the children and start working with the children and families, it brings in so much joy. So we have a ton of supports to support people from all sorts of different backgrounds into becoming effective educators with our students.
That's awesome. And I love that those 2 values of equity and joy. I think that's something that, you know, that would really resonate. And I love that also, that idea of people, we hear about people leaving the profession to go into private industry. It's really nice to hear the sort of the flip story. And I'm curious, because I know we have a lot of people in the off to class community that have worked and taught online. And part of our sort of idea is that maybe even teaching online, and maybe, you know, this is something you either want to come back to or come for the first time. Have you or have other people had teachers like that have worked in the online setting and have come back to the physical classroom, or is that something that you've seen?
In our case, I would say we have people with a lot of different backgrounds. Due to COVID and the experiences that we've all had the last few years, we've all developed a lot of new skill sets that maybe we weren't as strong in previously. But we've also learned a lot from that. And I've seen many of our teachers take those skills and continue to embed different strengths and techniques from that moving forward into back into the in-person classroom.
That's great. Dr. Lora, in your district, how's the recruitment process been? What are the kind of teachers you looking for? You know, what would you tell someone that's thinking about that, or thinking about whether they come and work in your district?
Okay, sure. We have an ongoing open application process, and we're open for, and we accept applications year round. We're still accepting applications as of now, and we're looking for teachers that actually care about our students and welcome our students and accept their cultural differences. And we're also looking for teachers that really want to continue learning and growing themselves, and and teachers that believe that they can actually make a difference in the students' lives and helping them to achieve their most and perform at their highest potential. So we're looking at someone. We know that has been a year of a lot of changes, but we're still looking for those teachers that got the heart and soul, that want to make a difference in our students' lives, and that want to get in there with us, and that want to work alongside with us to help our students achieve and perform at their highest potential.
As you're talking about that, I kind of feel like, is there a teacher that you're thinking of, or some like example or a story of something that you've seen in your own school lately that's gotten you excited about? We all know those teachers or those students where you see the transformation happen. Is there anyone that would be like that in your school that you could think of off the top of your head?
Oh, yes, we have several teachers that has really been above and beyond this year and last year during our pandemic. Oh, the teachers have really helped our students. They have come in early. They have stayed late. They also did extra tutoring with our kids. So we have really had several teachers that have gone above and beyond expectation, and we really appreciate those teachers, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for those type of teachers that's really ready to get in there with us to help our students and help our district and help our families.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I'll turn it over to Virginia, and same question to you. What are you looking for? What makes a great teacher for your district?
Well, first and foremost, just being yourself, right? We want you to come to the table where you can share your ideas and communicate effectively about what instruction means to you, and then how, of course, it implies and carries over to students. So those are the biggies, because we're in the same, we are all kind of talking the same thing. We want to talk about equity. We don't want to talk about that care and those relationships. You have to have a strong relationship with your students. It is just a must. Mm-hmm. And of course, the most important thing to be seen in any division, not just Virginia Beach, is we learn about you through your online application. So if your online application isn't completed correctly, that's our first place we get to see you. So for us, it's really just making sure, literally going tab by tab and making sure things are complete. So if you are an alternate route, we have what's called alternate routes to licensure. That is another way to get to be employed with us. And I think most school divisions and state education departments have that process. But again, it's having those documents. Having a resume that tells us who you are is really important. And references. It sounds silly, but people don't go back. Our references ask that you go back and check, because there's no notification that says they're back. And a lot of people are used to little notifications from various applications that they use. So we go to look at somebody, and they look good, but we're looking at the references. So it's a full package. So it's getting that completed application, and then being able to communicate about the position that you're interested in, whether it's ESL, whether it's first grade, whether it's music, world languages. You have to be able to tell us what you know and how you can impact students' lives, generally speaking. So, and Kathleen will get kind of into the meat of, we have a kind of an ESL specialty group that we have, and she can tell you a little bit more about those pieces.
All right, thank you. So we do have an ongoing application process. We are continuously accepting applications. So there is a general posting for an ESL teacher, and we're constantly reviewing applications and inviting people for interviews. So if you are interested, I encourage you to apply. And as Anne was saying, make sure that everything is complete. What we do is we set up interviews for qualified applicants at the central office level. So I'm under the Department of Teaching and Learning. So we are the first step to becoming an ESL teacher. So we interview candidates, and then if we recommend them, they go on to a highly qualified list of applicants, and that's shared with schools who might have openings. So then the principals from the schools with openings are able to select candidates from our list of highly qualified applicants and interview those candidates. All right. So I think that's our process in a nutshell there.
That's great. That's great. And so, a couple, at least one or two of you have mentioned, kind of pathways where teachers can upskill or they can get those qualifications. Or could you speak to any of the other certification that would be necessary for a teacher to make sure they've got all those boxes ticked before they start that resume process and start putting that forward? And then, if just if they want to get involved with this, are there other ways to get trained up, or if they were thinking about moving to that state, what's the process if they've not been trained in that previously?
So in order to be considered for a position as an ESL teacher, you do have to be eligible for a Virginia teaching license and an ESL endorsement, because you cannot be offered a position unless you have that ability to earn that ESL endorsement in the state of Virginia. There are different pathways. So I mentioned earlier, I think that it's possible to take the what's called the Praxis test in Virginia to add on an English as a second language endorsement if you already have a teaching license. But honestly, a better pathway is if you've taken courses and coursework in things like second language acquisition, acculturation, English as a second language, pedagogy, strategies for teaching second language learners. And there are different programs, for example, in our area, several different universities that offer courses like that. You can earn a master's degree or just an ESL endorsement through them.
That's great. And Dr. Lora, for Tulsa, do you want to talk a little bit about some of those pathways and some of the necessary certifications and the same thing on that front?
Happy to. So as I mentioned earlier, our workforce does come from diverse backgrounds. So one of the programs that we now offer in Tulsa is called Tulsa Teacher Corps. And so in Tulsa Teacher Corps, it's basically what traditionally would have been an emergency certification pathway. You have to have a bachelor's degree, you get approved by the state, etc. But in Tulsa Teacher Corps, if you're accepted into that program, then they provide all of your coaching and graduate coursework at no cost to you. So there's no cost to go back to graduate school and get those hours. That's all provided in-house with coaching in the classroom and all of the coursework. And it's been very successful. I have many of our English language development teachers in that program, as well as teachers in other subject areas. And the other thing I was going to say, sorry, for ELD, English Language Development in Oklahoma, while there is a certification test for English as a second language, Oklahoma doesn't actually require it to be eligible for an English language development teacher. However, tied to and grounded in our core values of equity and also excellence, Tulsa Public Schools does require that within your first year in the position. So we can hire you into the position on an emergency certification or regular certification pathway. But even if you don't have English as a second language certification, then our team has study group sessions, coaching, and other supports and guidance to help prepare you for that state ESL certification test to get you to pass within your first year.
That's really cool. So that's a really interesting sort of incentive for teachers that might be thinking about doing that, but might be daunted by the fact that they've not reached that level. Basically, you come and work in Tulsa, and after the 1 year, I'm assuming you work hard, you're going to pass that test, and you're going to be ready to go for moving forward.
Absolutely. Our teachers are very successful in that, and they just grow in their knowledge and their efficacy, and they do amazing things for students.
That's awesome. Dr. Lora in Tarrant City, same question to you. It's just, what are some of the things what do you have to have? You have to have, I'm sure, what kind of certification, what pathways are there for people that are looking to? I know you mentioned working at the local university. Anything on that front?
Sure. So first of all, they do have to have a degree in ESL education from an approved state education program, or they can take the Praxis, and just like Virginia, they do have to apply for certification. And but also our districts and other universities, we do have programs to help them, and also we do have sessions to help them pass the Praxis if they would like to go that route. But they do have to have at least a bachelor's degree from an accredited state approved education program in ESL.
Great. Sorry, I was on mute there. That's awesome. I was just going to remind the audience that we are going to be taking some questions, and know that people are watching and doing things during the day. So if you put a comment on whichever platform you're watching on, we will try to get it to you. We've had some other comments come in beforehand, but I'm curious for the group. These are some of the pathways to certification that people can do, and Virginia has already sort of made the point. The Virginia group has made a point about just making sure you've actually filled out the application correctly, right? Like just doing the basics. What are some other sort of common misconceptions or sort of mistakes that you see teachers making when they're reaching out, or either the application process or in their first year? What are some of those mistakes that unfortunately would make it difficult for them to succeed? Anyone can jump in.
So what this happened to us about 2 weeks ago. We had an applicant, a very good applicant. We looked through her resume and everything, but the contact information was wrong. We tried to reach out to them several times, and the information it didn't, we didn't hear from the applicants or anything like that. So I would just say, make sure that you have the correct email address, and make sure that you have the correct contact number, or is that the one that you use frequently? And another thing is we've had several that we have reached out to, but we have not heard from. So just make sure, because when we send out our application or setting up interviews, we do have a specific time limit that we have to set up those interviews. So we're looking to hear back from the applicants or the candidates. And I would just say, make sure that you respond back to our emails or respond back to our phone calls, and make sure that you have the correct information on your application.
And I want to hear from Tulsa as well. But Dr. Lora, you mentioned a bit about culture and about how you want people who are hungry to sort of like make a difference in people's lives. Is there anything that when you're doing the interviews, like what's something that helps like you just know, you can just kind of hear it in their voice, you can look at their track record, or what's something that's I guess the right sign for you that these people are going to be a good fit for your district?
Yes, during the interview process, I particularly look and listen for the passion in their voice, and look for the passion in their face, making sure that they come in there with excitement, they're coming there with passion, and they're ready to go.
That's awesome. That's exactly what I want. Dr. Lora, I'll flip it over to you. What's the biggest mistake that you see either in the application process or the first year of teaching that you just say, hey, make sure you do this to make sure you avoid any of that?
Oh, of course. Well, I would definitely build on what both my colleagues have said about accurate contact information, be checking for communications. We usually reach out via email, so being responsive to those. But then, as my colleague in Virginia Beach said, being authentic and being yourself, because we want the real you in the classroom. So much of our work is relationship based. We want to see that come out. I would say, especially in the first year and as you're entering the process and the program, is don't hesitate to ask questions and ask for help. We've all been doing this for a number of years. We have supports in place for people, but if we don't know what help is needed, it's what they say, there's no dumb questions. There's none. You ask for help, you let us know, and then together as a team, we find that third way and we help and support you so that you can do amazing things for students.
I love that so much. It's also the modeling of behavior, like how we expect the students to do this if we don't model behavior, if you don't model behavior as a teacher. So I love that sort of, and also I think about this with, if you're trying to support 70 plus different languages, no one teacher could do this. And so you're always going to have different things and you need to be able to tap on other people to ask for help or whatever it might be. So I think it's a great point. Virginia, y'all kind of kicked this off a little bit, and it sort of surprised me a little bit because I always thought when I put this question in here, I thought, oh, it's going to be things like, make sure you do this in the interview process or make sure you do this. But a lot of it's like just the basics. So I'm curious on that culture point, outside, you got your resume, you've done everything right on that front, you get in the classroom in the first year. Is there something that teachers could do or should do that would help that first year be a success for them if they came and worked in Virginia?
So I'm going to speak on the administrator side. I'm going to go back a few years, but I was an assistant principal for 9 years, and then music for a little bit before that, now here. But the bigger thing is that first year is just getting in and taking your time and slow down, right? And so you heard Dr. Lora say that, Lora Grisso say it, just ask the questions. Use your colleagues. We have the teacher orientation week, which happens a week before school starts. So all of our teachers, our first year teachers, receive a mentor. So they have the mentor for a year, but they also have their colleagues. So you have this like tiered layer. You're going to meet those new teachers right during teacher orientation week. You're going to make a connection there. Then you're going to make a connection with a mentor. So it's really bringing in everybody and asking the questions and everything. We were all first year teachers once, every one of us sitting here. So believe me, we did not know everything that first year. And I think sometimes that's the expectation, and new teachers can get themselves a little overwhelmed. And really sometimes it's like, slow down and take a deep breath. We're lucky. We have teacher retention liaisons. We have 3 of them. Their sole job is to work with first year teachers, and they're going out. So not only the mentors are also teaching sometimes, so they don't have that opportunity. So the teacher retention liaisons are there to provide that little bit of one-on-one, asking questions about learning plans. How can they reach out to a colleague? They have an idea maybe to support a student. How can they go about asking maybe the social studies teachers a little bit more questions about how they can integrate and work with them within the content? So lots of ideas. And then Kathleen, again, can speak to what she also offers in terms of those supports for the ESL teachers throughout the division.
So not only are new teachers assigned a mentor, but we also, that might be somebody within their, that's usually someone within their building, but through their ESL program, we provide another ESL teacher as a mentor, so that you have someone who's been on our staff as an expert in the field to work with and ask questions of. And myself, I'm the Title III ESL coordinator, and we have an instructional specialist here who's sitting behind me. So we are always here to answer questions. We welcome questions. We'd rather you ask a question than not. As someone said earlier, there are no stupid questions. We also, our instructional specialist offers an optional meeting, usually once a week in the evenings, for new teachers, so they can come together and ask questions, get help with whatever is needed. So we provide a lot of support.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. We had some good questions come in. One, just a kind of a technical question for Dr. Lora. Someone asked whether Oklahoma would accept other states' tests in lieu of praxis, or do you have to pass praxis to be able to get our certification?
So in Oklahoma, we have a different series of tests, which are not the praxis.
Oh, right.
It's a different series, but we do take out-of-state certification from a number of different states. And like I mentioned, we do have the pathways inside for staff that we hire inside to help them support them as they earn whatever certifications are needed.
That's great. That's great. And one of the questions that we talked to someone and this came up, and I thought it was interesting because we've heard of some districts doing this where they work with paraprofessionals who might be working on their certification as like sort of a teacher's assistant. So they're not, fully there, but this maybe their TESOL certification or whatever. And I know we have a lot of teachers in our community that at least have that. Is that something that you do, or is that like, do you employ sort of people as sort of paraprofessionals that in that area or not?
So for Tarrant City, we do employ paraprofessionals. We have one at each of our schools, and we also have translators at our school. Okay. And another thing I just like to add about our first year teachers, currently we do not have any first year teachers because all our teachers are veteran teachers. But if we do have first year teachers, one of the things that we tell all our teachers, whether they're ESL or Gen Ed teachers, is just to get to know your students and build that relationship with your students, and also get to know their family and get to know their culture, and also ask for help. That's one of the things that we really want to our teachers to know, that we're there to help them. They are assigned a mentor teacher, and also our regional ESL specialist comes out, and she mentors and coaches our ESL teachers. So we do provide support for our teachers and our paraprofessionals and translators.
That's great. That's great. And that's an awesome opportunity for people who at just different levels and sort of provide that extra support. For Virginia and Oklahoma, is the paraprofessional side, is that something that you incorporate, or how do you handle that?
We don't have paraprofessionals in those positions. If they are interested in obtaining a license in ESL or TESOL, depending on how you guys are using it, they would just go to our local university and they would apply for a position or apply for the program. And of course, they would have a bachelor's degree already. So that's what we have in terms of that. Did you want us to look at the chat, Nathan?
If you see one that you want to jump in, you're also happy to jump in if there's a question that
sure. So Bruce Mallon asked if we had a limit for hiring new ESL teachers in the age limit. Yeah. So all of our staffing is based on student allocations or student registrations, and that's what drives our allocations for ESL. For many of our specialist position, that's music, art, PE. So if we don't have a certain number of classes, a certain number of students, that is how we look at allocations. And then allocations can flex and flow throughout the year. So it's not uncommon, and Kathleen can tell you this, and I knew it as a AP, that once students get added, then they have to sometimes shift people around so that they make sure they have enough teachers at a particular school based on the number of students who state that they are English language learners.
Right.
And then similar to Virginia Beach, our ELD teacher allocations, our English language development teacher allocations are based on enrollment. So at various school sites, how many multilingual learners are enrolled, and that generates the allocation, which I'm very excited. I just got approved to reduce caseload. Oh, so I'm actually going to get more teachers to make those smaller groups. So that's awesome, but it does mean I'm going to need more teachers this year. And then back to the question on paraprofessionals, we do have paraprofessional and teacher assistant positions throughout the district. And we do have it's called a paraprofessional pipeline, I believe is what we call it, to help support paraprofessionals who want to pursue full teacher certification to manage their own classrooms.
That's awesome. And kind of on that sort of general area, and I know that one district we've talked to has been looking at like how they provide extra support for students via like online settings like Zoom or stuff. Do you do any virtual part-time, or is it all full-time? Is that kind of what you're looking to hire for? I'm just curious for any of the districts.
So in Tulsa, our ELD teacher allocations are both full-time and half-time. I do have some teachers who just want to teach half-time, and that's great, and we make that work. Or they take one half-time at one school and one half-time at another school if they want a full-time.
So half-time is just it's still in person, but you're just only working half of a week, or what? Sorry, just for my own.
It's okay. No, I appreciate you asking the clarification. So that's part of the question. Then the other, I guess, part of the question, at least in my mind, is we do have Tulsa Virtual Academy. So that is our online school for pre-K through 12th grade, and it is taught in a virtual setting. They do some blended activities that do require you to be in person at a building occasionally, but it's not on a regular basis. But all that instruction is handled online via Canvas, which is our learning management software.
That's great. That's great. I know I think Bruce's specific question had been about, do you have an age range of like when you stop hiring above a certain age point, or you just sort of take applicants by how if they have the qualifications, then they would be considered?
Well, we don't have an age range, and it's against law. So
that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure we answered.
Yeah, no, we do not have an age limit. What we have is we want excellent teachers, and I can say this: all of them are in staffing. I can tell you, we have lots of people who apply for positions in our division and all around the country, and we do have a national teacher shortage. But we also need people who are qualified for the position. And that's the hardest thing.
You can't just put anybody in front of these students.
Yeah, and that's the harder thing that we find is that people apply, but they're really not eligible for the position. And so or they don't have, the correct credentials. So it's just tough, so psychology majors are great, but to teach actually psychology in at least in Virginia Beach, you have to have a social sciences, history, social sciences certification to teach the psychology class in a high school. So that's what the trickier part. So if you just come to the table with your information and you're good to go, we are going to take you. We take people from 0 years to 30 years. We just hired a couple from the UK.
Awesome. Very
Both of them
cool.
had 10 plus years. So
that's great.
yeah.
That's great. And I'm curious. And so yeah, just to be very, very clear, it is illegal to discriminate based on age. And so we let that speaks across the board. But I'm curious on the Virginia side, the virtual point. Is this just this? I think it's just full time, right? Because I think I remember us talking about this beforehand. You don't hire people to do virtual tutoring or anything like that part time.
So we for parents who've chosen a virtual option for their students, we go through Virtual Virginia. And Anne can feel free to jump in, but we do currently have a part-time ESL teacher who works with just those Virtual Virginia English learners, because there are very few of them. But we're expecting to receive quite a few new allocations next year, hopefully, pending final approval. So those are for full-time, face-to-face teachers. Our need for virtual, fortunately, and in my opinion, has been pretty low.
Gotcha. And Dr. Lora, same question for you. The sort of support that you're looking for full time, like kind of in person, or do you also incorporate virtual teaching and things in your classes?
So yes, during the pandemic, I know we're still in it, but when 2 years ago, when the pandemic first happened, we did have virtual teachers for our ESL, what we call remote teachers. But we are now in person. But we also have some virtual teachers, but they're just not ESL. But that is not that's not saying that we would not look at that as an option. It's based on our need and what we can get. But right now we are in person, but we're leaving everything open for options.
That's great. That's really good to know. And I'm curious. I know that you probably don't necessarily want to start thinking about this right now, especially as we hit these sort of, we were just talking about this before, the period between spring break and the summer. I know that there are districts that are thinking about ways to address learning loss over the summer or to help provide some support. Is that anything that any of these 3 districts that y'all are doing anything to work with language learners over the summer and as you're sort of building back?
So in Tarrant, over the summer, we have ESL camps. We have had those in the past, and this year we're trying to bring them back in person. So we're looking to have our ESL camp for our students in grades kindergarten through 12.
That's great. That's great. What about the other 2 districts?
In Tulsa, we do have our Ready Set Summer experience in the planning stages for this summer. And it is there's an academics component, but we also focus a lot on the basically out of traditional classroom, the experiential learning. So maybe you're building on a robotics team, or maybe you're outside carving out a canoe, or just real hands-on, not necessarily the traditional academic textbook learning. We launched that last summer. It was very, very popular just for new experiences that helps open students' perspectives and experiences. And we're excited about doing it again.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
So in Virginia Beach, we have an ESL summer program for our secondary English learners. It's specifically for the students currently enrolled in the ESL program. And then at the elementary level, many of our schools offer summer learning camps. And we will be offering ESL teacher support to our English learners who are enrolled in those summer learning camps.
That's awesome. That's great. And I know there's one user that seems very interested, Dr. Grisso, in the Tulsa job. So just if they're looking for opportunities working at Oklahoma, they're qualified, just go to where's the best place for them to go?
So if they will go to Tulsa Public School, or it's tulsaschools.org is our website in the career section. Our multilingual learner teachers are not not necessarily, called out as a specific application. You would apply for a elementary teacher or a secondary teacher, and in your application, note your interest in or qualifications for being a multilingual learner teacher. But yes, we have multiple openings pre-K through 12 for multilingual learner teachers. Next year, as I just said, our caseloads got reduced, so that's very exciting. And I would like to answer the other about hiring overseas teachers. We do regularly hire teachers. Right now, we're hiring primarily from Spain, as our state has a memorandum of understanding with the Embassy of Spain. We are always looking to hire multilingual and diverse teachers to really become representative of our student body. The trick will be is that we cannot actually be a visa sponsor. So we can hire overseas teachers, we cannot be a visa sponsor. So it would just have to find the third way on that one.
As someone who's an American living over in the UK who's done it multiple ways with my wife, I have ultimate respect for people navigating those worlds. But it's good that you at least are hiring there, and if people are able to find those pathways, then I'm sure that would be a real benefit. And thank you for making that point. We'll make sure that on our jobs board that we make that note with Tulsa that if you're interested in these positions, to go through the general one and then indicate it underneath there, so that anyone who is interested can have it. If there's any other questions, please keep adding them. Sorry, I think someone was going to jump in. Ann, were you going to say something?
I was just going to. We are in the same position where we our application is very similar. Most people's applications are very similar. You select whether you're certified, classified, or teacher assistant or paraprofessional. And then in the body of on our section, it's called employment preferences, same thing. We also do not sponsor anyone at this time with J1 visas. So there are lots of different organizations that do provide that support. So when you research them, be prepared for the documents that you need to kind of get together. One of which I can tell you for American schools, or still do, is you need to know which state you're going to seek employment with, and go to that state, the education department, to identify the company or resource that would verify your university credentials. There's certified credentialing agencies that are accepted by each state. And so you typically will get a course by course with a summary. It's those two things. So that does cost a couple $100.
I'm writing this down. I think it's something that we might have to pull into a blog or something, because I know that was one of the things we had come in, were a number of teachers who do work internationally and are interested in moving back, or if there's opportunities there. And so navigating that, I know can be a bit tricky on that side of things. Yeah. Let me see, any other questions or things we might have? I was just kind of curious on the sort of the progression and things. That I think that's one of the interesting things about career progression for teachers who are coming and working with you. After that first year, what does life look like in 5 years, or kind of how do you have that learning journey continue? I know you brought up some of the professional opportunities. Anything else that you want to add about color as a teacher in your own district? Anybody can jump in.
I can speak to after a number of years. It could be 3 years, it could be 5, it could be more. There are always other positions. If you're like, oh, I've been really successful as a teacher and I want to help teach others, and I want to help coach new teachers coming in, we have positions for instructional mentor. As I mentioned earlier, I have English language development partners on my team who are experienced educators with multilingual learners, who then present professional learning. They design and present and coach new teachers. So there are always different avenues after you get your feet on the ground and show your success and your engagement and continuing your learning. There's always lots of other opportunities in the future.
Okay, the same here with our district. After you have been there for 3 years, your 4th year, you have tenure, and you'll be a tenure teacher within our state. And from there, you can move up. We do have lead ESL teachers, and we also, the lead ESL teachers, they function as an ESL coach, and they work with all schools in our district and work with all teachers within our district. And we do also offer an incentive program for our new teachers and for our teachers that have been there starting with their third year.
What is that? Just for my own, what is the incentive program? Just on the financial side, is it sort of benefits on that side, or what do you mean by incentive program?
Yes, those are monetary incentive rewards that are given out by our district, and also we do have just special recognitions program for our teachers.
That's great. That's great. And what about you, Virginia? Any kind of what's that career progression look like for teachers that are working in your schools?
So, go ahead, Ann. I'll jump on. I wanted to add too that we not only do we offer regarding professional development, like after school sessions, but we encourage our teachers to really become leaders. I think I mentioned earlier that many of our teachers lead their own professional development sessions for content teachers. They may do presentations not only at the district level, but also at the school level. And we really encourage teachers to do things like present at conferences and travel to conferences. And we support that from a division level. We'll support, going, for example, going to our state ESL conference. So that's definitely something that we want to work to, build the capacity of not only the content teachers, but also our ESL teachers.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, so we're coming to the end of things, and I kind of wanted to give each of you the chance to, I don't know, give your final pitch or your sort of final thoughts that you'd have for a teacher who's watching it now, or likelihood with the fact that a lot of these people are working during the day, watching it later tonight or in between jobs. Why is it so exciting? What else would you want to tell them about your district? Why should they come and work for you, work alongside you? And I think most importantly, like, what's it about the learners in your district that makes that so special? Because I think ultimately that's why we're doing this. And so I don't know, anyone could start first. This is your sort of final thoughts to the off to class teacher community.
Well, I can. Oh, sorry, Dr. Perry. Did you want to jump in?
Oh no, go ahead.
I think we have an awesome team of teachers, and our ESL teachers are passionate, dedicated, and they help each other out. They support each other. They write lesson plans together. And at the central office level, like I've mentioned earlier, we provide a lot of support. We have wonderful colleagues here at the district level. And we will, we'll work with you, support you to the very, very best of our ability. And also, Virginia Beach is a lovely place to live. We're near the ocean, Chesapeake Bay. You have the beach, the mountain's only a few hours away. So it's really a wonderful place to work and live.
Over to you, Dr. Perry.
Okay. Well, I would just like to invite anybody who's interested in working alongside with us in Tarrant City Schools. We are a small community-based, family-oriented district. So if you're looking for something that's small, that's family-oriented, we would love to have you. We would love to have you work alongside with us to help our students. And like I said, Tarrant is small, but we're here. We're supporting teachers, we're supporting family, and we have a great student body. We have a great administrator, superintendent, and we would just love for you to come and join us. We're just minutes away from the Birmingham metropolitan area. We're only minutes away from the mountains, and we're not too far from the beach either, so you could go there also. So just we would love to hear from you. So you can just go on our website at www.tarrant.k12.al.us, and we do have applications listed under employment opportunities, and we do list our employment by ESL or general ed teachers. So we'd love to hear from you.
That's great. That's great. And I know that there are a lot of people leaving big cities to move to smaller ones. My parents live in a small town in Mississippi. They had a ton of people move there. So there might be some people that take you up on this. And Dr. Laura, I'm going to put over to you. And if you tell me that Tulsa is not too far from the beach as well, then I'll be curious to see. I mean, however you want to spin it, that's cool. But I'll be impressed if I missed a beach there in
Hey,
Oklahoma.
we have a ton of lakeshore beaches. Like if you want to measure it, we have just a number of lakes with beaches.
It's a beautiful. The one time I drove through Oklahoma, it was a beautiful state, just absolutely exquisite. My grandmother made me watch Oklahoma the musical growing up, so I always have that in the back of my head as well. So sorry, I interrupted you. Tell us about Oklahoma. Tell us about Tulsa and why you're interested in there.
But no, Tulsa is just an amazing city. It is vibrant and diverse with a growing music scene. We have Black Wall Street here, which was a huge. It's been an amazing kind of rebirth of everything coming back to life and celebrating and learning who we are and who we are together. So definitely check that piece out. We have the Woody Guthrie Center, which is new, and that's been awesome and has drawn a lot of attention as well. So a lot of exciting things happening in Tulsa. And then in Tulsa Public Schools, like I said, our multilingual learner population is our fastest growing student population in the district. And we're adding more languages every year, as I shared earlier. We have amazing families who want to engage and staff who want to build relationships and serve. And I just couldn't imagine a better place to be. We'd love to have you here.
That's awesome. And I know that your colleagues talked about Virginia, but I'd be remiss if I didn't give you another chance to say anything else, since you've also been part of this conversation.
Just come teach us the beach, as we say.
Teach at the beach. That's very snappy.
Yeah. So no, I think all of us, and I'm just going to speak for all of us. We want great people to work with our students, and so yes, we would love for you to come to Virginia Beach. But you have some great opportunities, and I already wrote down a couple of things about Tulsa's already. So we all learn, just even in this little setting, we all learn from each other. We all learn a lot about what is out there for our staff, especially in this case, our ESL teachers. But we want you to bring light and life to our students so that they can be part of our community, part of the larger global picture. And that's ultimately the big dream for us, is to have great people who are really, truly dedicated to being an educator. That is, but for children, none of us have a job. So that is the central theme that I say to everybody. It's a gift that we've been given to share our knowledge and to pass that forward, or pay it forward, as we say. So yes, come teach at the beach is fun, but we want you to get a job. We want you to be the best educator possible.
That's a beautiful way to end things. We heard about equity and joy in Tulsa. We heard about people who want to be involved in the community and really kind of getting stuck in Alabama. And that sort of call about reminding us about the students is a really nice way to end things. I just can't thank you ladies enough for joining us today. And we will do everything in our power to connect any interested teacher with positions in these awesome schools, so they too can hopefully make a positive difference on students and on kids. And so we'll be back tomorrow with other webinars this week. But in the interim, just thank you so very much. It's been a lovely time getting to learn with each of you today, and we'll wrap things up right here.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan.
Thanks.